First of all, great to be back in real-life presentations again. I think it's been probably said a few times, but I hope everyone's had a great show so far, and obviously lots more to come, no doubt. I'm here today really to talk with you about navigating around the maze of new privacy regulations that a lot of you guys in the room are now facing, and ultimately really how the rise of the data cleanroom environment might allow you as marketers to really build out some crucial insights for your respective products moving forward. Now, the big subject and really subsequent problem to kick off on here is that user data has really been seen as crucial to marketing campaigns for some time now. And yeah, since the dawn of internet commerce, marketers have been driven by the ability to freely use third-party cookies for retargeting, for user analytics, and really any sort of data-driven advertising. And it's safe to say that marketing attribution has always been also reliant on unlimited consumer data. But in the last few years, obviously a lot has changed, right? Privacy has taken center stage in mobile app marketing, and iOS in particular, which has impacted attribution models, campaign optimization, monetization methods, remarketing, fraud, and a hell of a lot more. And that's really what we're going to be exploring today. More specifically, we'll go into what changes have occurred in the last decade and really look at the big players involved, how these changes have affected marketers like yourselves, and then we'll take a look at how the data cleanroom has risen up really as an extremely viable solution for you guys in these challenging times. Just before we get into the detail, just a quick introduction. My name's Darren Elliott. I'm Sales Director for Middle East and UK at AppsFlyer. My background is very much in the advertising space. Start off in publishing, working a major ad network, and also a good stint in the agency. So I've been both a buyer and supplier in this market, and hopefully understand a lot of the challenges that you face in this room. And for those who don't know AppsFlyer, we're the market leader in mobile attribution and marketing analytics. So we've got nearly 1,300 employees globally, 19 offices, and we're very fortunate to work with around about 65% of the world's app marketers. And the rapid innovation at AppsFlyer was possible because we've invested years just building and perfecting an attribution engine so that we can deliver on the promise of quality data and really unmatched accuracy. And that engine is really the kind of rock-solid foundation that underpins AppsFlyer's solutions, but those that exist today, but also those that we're yet to build and obviously will be certainly to come in the future. And then secondly, certainly at the center of the platform is really a robust and privacy-centric operating system, that allows you to really seamlessly connect all of your data to over 8,000 partners within the marketplace. And then finally, at the top of it is the application layer, and that is really allows you to put the power of the platform to good use. Whether it's activating your data for meaningful engagement, as well as using things like audience segmentation or deep linking, protecting ad spend using tools like Protect 360, and at its core, obviously, being able to analyze performance of your marketing campaigns with comprehensive analytics. And that can be anything from LTV measurement all the way through to incrementality. And then finally, the ability to predict LTV performance with our upcoming predictive analytics suite. So the ways that the platform can be applied really have as much potential as really the opportunities that all of us face here in the audience today. So just diving right in the last 10 years, there's really been a gradual move towards a more privacy-centric mindset. It started years and years ago, right? Apple first replaced its UDID with the IDFA in 2012. And a UDID was a permanent device number, and so sharing it couldn't be turned off, whereas an IDFA could be reset. And then in 2016, limited ad tracking came in, and that allowed Apple users the option to opt out of measurement on their devices. And then obviously there was major changes in 2018 when GDPR came in, and obviously CCPA and the California Consumer Privacy Act within the states. But it wasn't really until Apple's announcement of ATT and the updates to SCAD network that the mobile world really felt that the tides have changed. As you'll all know, users of iOS now have to deliberately opt in to sharing their IDFA with apps like yourselves. If users choose to opt out, it's going to limit the way that you can track them, and ultimately, that's going to significantly dilute the effectiveness of your digital campaigns. So in terms of the next stage to that, obviously the final nail in the coffin is going to be the death of the cookie. You know, Google's announced plans to phase out third-party cookies by 2023, and in reply to that, obviously it's introduced that Topics API as a privacy-focused alternative. And this, for those who don't know, is a software built into the browser that keeps a check on user searches, and then based on those user searches, it will offer 5 topics weekly that the user is interested in. So in terms of using that information to power advertising, when a user visits a publisher's website, the companies that the publisher uses to monetize that can access the browser's interest groups via an API. Chrome will then return up to 3 topics, with one chosen at random from each of the 3 weeks, or the previous 3 weeks. And then advertisers can then make that crucial decision on if they want to show that advert to someone with those interests and obviously bid accordingly. So what does this mean for marketeers like yourselves? I think we can all agree in this room that privacy is a very, very good thing, right? And there's no argument about that for both consumers and the mobile ecosystem. But these changes obviously don't come without massive challenges. First of all, that lack of ROI LTV data is there for all to see. SCAD network obviously only delivers one postback that's based on data signals from early on in the funnel. That could be installs as an example, but there's little or no postback data from in-app events. And since the majority of LTV data is derived from in-app activity, app marketers, between the timer limit and the postbacks, lose a number of indicators that really help you to measure and understand that LTV and ROI of your marketing campaigns. And challenge 2 is the timer limit itself, right? SCAD network has a timer mechanism which begins and which is called for the first time, usually on the first launch. And however, after that 24-hour period, the SK timer function expires, the data is locked in, and the postback to networks is sent. So the problem here for you guys, you often require, in a lot of cases, more than a 24-hour period to understand post-install user activity to derive the value of your users. There are workarounds, workarounds such as timer extensions. They do exist, but they also come with their own limitations. So for you, there's really a trade-off between time and data. If you keep the timer limit to 24 hours, then you lose out on potentially valuable post-install data. Obviously, if you extend the timer, then you lose out on your ability to optimize campaigns effectively. So clearly from that side, we know that marketing has needed to be reimagined. And it's true, in iOS 14, a lot of users, the majority of users, have opted out of ad tracking. So app owners in the room need to use other identifiers to encourage users to opt in. It could be requesting an email address or another form of identification. These sort of identifiers are actually considered first-party data, so they therefore adhere to the new privacy standards. And using that first-party data that's collected via your own media, let's say it's your website, your emails, helps to extend that user experience and ensure really that the relationship between customer and app is maintained. But each limitation does have a workaround. So you can still glean insights and add value. However, the combination of these factors means there is less data, admittedly, for advertisers and attribution partners to ultimately work with. And so enter the data clean room, right? If you're a marketer, it's probably unlikely that you've been in any conversation in the last few months where data clean rooms probably hasn't been mentioned. It's usually with someone by someone with a pretty excited but also blank look on their face. So what we want to do is clear up what this kind of strange hygienic chamber of data actually is. And it's important to note, data clean rooms as a concept are not a new thing. Right? They've been around for a few years now. Google was, you'll be pleased to know, not the first to coin the term, but it was the first company to commercialize a data clean room solution. It launched its Data Hub in 2017. And the goal there was really to create a secure and private environment for enriching their first-party data, from CRMs, from CDPs, or event logs, with user-level data contained within the Google ecosystem, and after which that could be leveraged for a customer's Google campaigns. And then a mere month later, Facebook then announced their own data clean room, offering that for the purpose of sharing data with its customers alone. So let's take a look at the data or the magic behind these. So data clean rooms really allow marketers to really harness the power of a combined data set, whilst also adhering to privacy regulations. So PII data or attribution restricted data of individual users is not exposed to any of the individual contributors. And that makes it impossible for them to single out users with unique identifiers. Actually, PII and user data are actually processed so that it can be made available for a variety of measurement purposes, producing then anonymized data that can then be cross-referenced and combined with data from different sources. So in most cases, the only outputs from the data clean room are aggregate level insights. That could be users, obviously at an aggregate level, plural, who've performed action X and therefore should be served solution Y. And that being said, user-level output can really take place, that can only take place given the full consent of all involved parties. And the key ingredient that makes the data clean room a really highly credible solution for many of the companies in the room is the fact that access, availability, usage of data are only all agreed on by all data clean room parties, while data governance is then enforced by the trusted data clean room provider. And it's that framework that ensures that one party can't access the other's data, but also kind of upholding that rule stating that individual or user-level data can't be shared between different companies without consent. But how does this all work in practice, right? So the first stage is data ingestion. In the very beginning, first-party data from CRMs, the app, attribution, or second-party data from collaborating parties like brands, networks, publishers, is all funneled into the data clean room. And then secondly, or the next stage is very much connection and enrichment. Data sets are then matched at the user level, and then are made to complement each other using tools such as third-party data enrichment. And then thirdly, really is when it starts to get really interesting is when the analytics stage kicked in. The data is really analyzed for intersections or overlaps, measurement and attribution, and propensity scoring as just an example. And then the final stage is really those marketing applications. This is when you guys in the room get into the nitty-gritty. So at the very end of that data clean room journey, aggregated data outputs then enable marketers to build more relevant audiences, optimize their customer experience, execute cross-platform planning or attribution, perform reach and frequency measurement, but ultimately run deeper campaign analysis. So now we all know how DCRs work. Why should you care about them in the first place, and really what advantages are they going to give you? I think the first one here is performance measurement. I mean, it's core. So keeping track of retention, ARPU, LTV, ROAS, they're all flagged as key use cases for data clean rooms, and rightfully so. A DCR offers a neutral environment to analyze advertiser CRM data and the ad exposure data that's provided by the relevant marketing partners. In one use case, a advertiser can upload their first-party data into a DCR following a campaign, match up identical key identifiers, and then conduct analysis across their customer data and the ad sequence data as well, made available by that DCR provider. So let's say, for example, you're in e-commerce, you could simply feed the data clean room with your CRM data, unique identifiers such as emails, postal addresses, for example, mobile IDs, and the purchase date. Then each media owner will include their ad exposure data and unique identifiers used to create the campaign audience. So you've got a really good opportunity there to then accurately measure that intersection between new customers and those exposed to the campaign. And then secondly, it's about building more granular audiences for you. So data clean room really enables granularity to a degree that up until recently was impossible due to the introduction of ATT. It's going to collect that data that's from authorized third-party sources that are ingested and segmented into a range of behavioral, demographic, and location buckets, and then leverage them to enhance your internal database for more granular data enrichment and analysis. And the beauty of it all is really that rather than requiring users' data to be shared in order to conduct analysis, That data clean room actually enables multiple data sources to be virtually connected through anonymized cohorts. And then finally is incrementality measurement. Now, impression data from publishers, from audiences, first-party response and conversion data can all be funneled into that clean room and tied together at the user level to help you understand the incremental lift and impact that your marketing efforts are getting. So think about the ability to then compare between your test and mediating groups through things like A/B testing, and hopefully you can see, or more importantly, between your exposed and unexposed groups. So after setting you up and setting up the hype for Data Clean Room, I wanted to introduce you to the AppsFlyer Privacy Cloud. So in the wake of all of these privacy regulations and changes, AppsFlyer wanted to find a better way to enhance ecosystem collaboration and really maximize both experience and privacy. And ultimately, from there, all of that taking place without the risk of exchanging user-level data. So the AppsFlyer Privacy Cloud introduces a trusted open platform for ecosystem collaboration, very simply with a clear mission. Right? We want to enhance end users' experience. We want to preserve all of the innovation elements, but also not at the risk of exposing user-level data. So it's basically allowing companies to collaborate by safely bringing all of their data together without sharing anything compromising, but also while still allowing to gain those critical decision-making insights that are core to your day-to-day jobs. So our goal really here is just to maintain the great value and customer experience enabled by the use of cookies and identifiers without those privacy concerns. So please do watch out for the launch of this in Q2. The AppsFlyer team, as you may have seen, we're here in force today. There's a lot of us speaking to, obviously, existing clients and new. We'd love to continue the conversation with all of your teams. And very much thank you for listening. And I'll leave you to enjoy your lunch.